Yes, yes, yes. It's Load-Bearing Beams, the podcast and movie. I'm sorry, YouTube. You know, there's a video component, and it's on.
So true.
It's on YouTube.com.
It's on the tube. Catch us on it.
So, Load-Bearing Beams. To go over it again. Load-Bearing Beams is an audio podcast. B. Not V. B.
What is happening?
I'm very frazzled.
You're having some sort of an episode.
I just saw an upsetting text. Okay. Let's regroup. Hello, my name is Matt Stokes.
Hello, my name is Laci Roth, and Matt just had a semi-stroke.
I'm trying to remember what the the reporter said who had the stroke. Maybe it's not funny to joke about. It's not funny.
Anymore. Yeah, I didn't even.
But 10 years ago, that was hilarious.
So hilarious.
So what is a load-bearing beam? Well,
I'm glad you asked. Matt, can you do that? Because I hate describing it. Thank you.
And first of all, to all those listening and watching, we're doing things a little differently tonight. And we're recording at night, which means things are going to get a little saucy.
Oh, fuck.
Or saucy, however that word is
With our sauce? With our beer sauce?
Yes, we are drinking alcoholic beverages responsibly in our home.
I'm thinking things are going to stay pretty similar to usual. I don't know. We'll see. We switched to the morning because my temperament wasn't great at night. And we're doing it tonight out of necessity because I painted all day on a wall. That sounds not impressive. A mural. And so we had to push it till tonight.
You painted a mural?
I painted a mural.
What kind of mural?
It's at an industrial laundry facility for a client of ours.
Oh, so this wasn't like a creative.
No. Well,
I mean, it was creative, but it's not like you were like, I just have to do this.
Oh, right. No, I wasn't inspired in this.
It's like, I have to do this because I'm being paid to do this. You're a very impressive lady.
Literally had to do it. Yeah.
You're a very impressive lady. You do a lot of impressive things.
That's sweet.
So what is the point? Well, the point is this. We're married people.
So true.
To each other.
He's got all the facts.
She married me. And sometimes we want to watch programs together. But want to make sure the program is good. Good show, good movie. Sometimes you have a movie that a long time ago you loved a lot and you remember it very fondly, but you're thinking, is she going to like this, or am I even still going to like this? And that's a load-bearing beam. It's a metaphor. It holds you up. So that's what we do on the show. We each pick a movie every episode and we watch it together and then we talk about it. It's kind of useless to talk about things and not record it these days. So,
I have him save all comments until we are recording. We don't speak at all in our marriage.
No, it's often easy to tell based on just sort of body language and little,
Well, we're silent movie actors in all other phases of our life. We only speak.
Explain what you mean by that.
We only communicate through body language, except for when we're recording, and then we use all of our vocal abilities.
Right.
That's right.
But
we save it.
Did you know, Laci, that we actually communicate way more with nonverbal communication than with
Don't be
verbal?
a fucking dick. Yeah, of course I know that.
You knew that?
No, we don't communicate way more. We communicate with 30% body language. It's not way more, it's less, but it's still a lot.
So then that's not impressive at all.
That is impressive.
This goes into my list of things that when you hear them are actually way less impressive than they should be.
Well, it was nuanced at one point. There was something not nuanced, sorry, novel. That people didn't ever consider that their bodies were talking. Everyone focused on being a good orator.
Right. Like in 1936, they would have been like, say, what percentage estimate would you make that we communicate with verbal versus nonverbal? And they would have been like 100%.
I don't know, but weren't they a little too close to the whole idea of a silent movie to they would be like, no, pretty sure our bodies do the talking and our mouths do nothing.
Humans have been around for a long time. Silent movies have only been around for like 30 years.
That's everything to a generation.
But I picked an old movie this time.
Boy, did he.
Well, when I was a young man, I got very into classic film, especially classic Hollywood, and I would watch like one black and white movie every day for about 3 years.
And he had no friends. No
friends at all, except for Humphrey Bogart and Cary Grant. They were my friends.
His friends were dropping like flies.
And
because they were dead, because they were old.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Good one. When I, tell Laci about, that's a good movie. The Third Man's a really great movie. She often accuses me of lying about my fondness for old movies.
I've stopped.
Well, I explained it to you and you're like, oh, that makes sense. And then you forget. So we watched Citizen Kane on this podcast and Laci was like, wow, that's so great. It's so fun. I can't believe it. And then, 2 weeks later, it's like, fucking old movies. I never want to watch them.
No. Well, yeah, but I don't ever think anymore that you don't like them.
This is not true. You've said multiple times on the podcast that
I used to think that you don't like them.
That you still think that you think I'm putting on airs, that I'm trying to seem cool.
Well, take them off.
And I counter that with, who am I trying to seem cool to? Like, who am I impressing?
Your own self-worth, sense of self.
Is wrapped up.
Shit, I'm on both sides of my argument here. I believe you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But then another thing is, on the podcast last week about Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood, I was very clumsily making this point about how when we tell stories from a modern perspective about the past, that we condescend to people of the past in a way where we just sort of make them empty and shallow caricatures, because that's just, when you think of anything in the past, you're like, well, people were stupid back then. But
I don't.
You don't?
I specifically look to everyone's childhoods to find the key to personality quirks. So maybe I'm different in my need to psychoanalyze everyone and everything. So maybe I think the past to be is as complicated and in some ways much more complicated as right now.
In terms of people's
personality, what they go through, their limitations, the confines of what they were expected to be based on their gender, their social class. I feel like those things are still there, but it's way more. I feel like people are more free to be not defined by those things now. Mm-hmm.
But those things have always existed. They were always things that had to be dealt with.
Okay.
But I made this point.
I'm saying I'm saying it makes me think of anyone who was gay or transgender or had autism or anything that was, in a earlier time, that they struggled in a much more profound way than now.
Yeah, certainly.
That's all. So I don't think of the past as being full of simpletons with such easygoing sets of issues, because there was no internet. So what do they have to worry about? I don't think of it like that.
Well, you're better than other people.
That's true.
I felt like in the Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood movie, the only character from the past that are treated with any sort of emotional depth was Vivi, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not even the other Yaya sisters were treated as emotionally complex or deep people from the past. And I think that that's all I was trying to say.
I still just don't agree. But I get what you're saying. I can imagine, I can apply that to lots of other movies. But that one, I feel like they did bother giving some complexity to the dad of Vivi, the dad of Sita, and to one of the Yayas. So I don't agree.
So I wanted to pick an old movie to show that people have always that people have always been emotionally complex, and people 70 years ago were as complicated as people today, or two, that movies that fiction basically could show that. I don't know that I chose the perfect movie to do that, but I did feel like it was time to pick an old movie, because I have a lot of old movies that I would like to surface and like us to look at.
I would say you picked a movie that has some of the most simplistic characters you could. I don't think so. There's like barely an arc.
I don't think so at all. I think every character has an arc. We'll get to it, but
I feel like two of them have a semi-arc, but.
So the movie,
I love it.
The movie I chose was My Man Godfrey, a 1936 movie,
which I never heard of.
The perennial or quintessential screwball comedy.
Which I thought I understood what a screwball comedy was. I thought it's what I like to watch. A bunch of screwballs being comedic.
Do you want to explain what it is?
So it turns out it's a hyper specific kind of comedy. It's based between 1930 and 1940, and it always stars a more dominant female character who's usually pursuing a love interest of some kind. It specifically has quick, witty repertoire, meaning they have these exchanges that are like, I mean, you can't imitate them. They're so fast and they're so smart, and it's a style. It's art, just that part of it. Also that it often will show different classes within the movie and their conflict of being in two separate classes. But usually it's based around the woman pursuing the man for marriage. Did I miss anything?
The man is usually a more passive, kind of a cuck beta, you know.
But I didn't find that. I feel like he was okay. Just
typically. So in movies like It Happened, well, the big screwball comedy movies, It Happened One Night, My Man Godfrey, You Can't Take It With You, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, His Girl Friday, movies by Preston Sturges, movies by Frank Capra.
How many were Carole Lombard in?
Bringing Up Baby. She was in quite a few. I mean, she's kind of totally wrapped up into. She kind of defines this genre.
And that makes complete sense, because I feel like they had to hire actresses that could try to keep up with the gift of gab she has. I mean, I can hardly even believe that those lines were written for her. She says them so, like they flow out of her like it wouldn't. Everything sounds like she sells seashores. See, I can't even do that.
Yeah.
That's how complicated the things she says. And you understand them perfectly.
There was a time where I said she was my favorite actress. I think she's still my favorite actress of, like classic Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And she had a tragically brief career because she died in a plane crash in the early 1940s. Oh. She had a series of very high-profile romances, was married to William Powell, her co-star of this movie, although they got divorced before this movie was made.
Wait, she's married to Godfrey?
She's married to Godfrey.
And they got divorced before this movie was made.
But it was amicable. They remained friends, and he had to fight for her to be on this movie because he was a bigger star than she, and he said she's the only person who could play this part.
Oh,
and then she got involved with Clark Gable. They were like the Hollywood couple. They were, whatever.
I've heard of them.
Angelina. And
heard of both of them.
And Clark Gable's life was never the same when she died in a plane crash.
Was she with other people I would have heard of in that plane crash?
Was she?
Was it one of those?
They killed like a bunch of stars.
Yeah, I feel like that's always the way.
I know. I don't remember. I feel like if it was a lot of like notable people, I would remember. But it could, there's tons of for every like star of old Hollywood about, there's like 10 others that were huge that just people have forgotten about.
Right. Like, for instance, the sister in this movie, who I think is just, well, in a slightly different way, but definitely completely captivating. And you're like, yeah, she wasn't really anything. Like, oh
yeah, but like certainly was like a big, successful actress of her time.
Just didn't withstand the test of time.
Remember her name.
Yeah, no, I get it. There's only so much room for the tippity top.
Yeah. Okay. But my history with this movie is I didn't know anything about it. I found it was in like a bargain in the bargain bins at Walgreens, because this movie is one of those movies that fell into the public domain, and so you can
what does that mean?
That it's copyright lapse, and then anybody could put out a version of it. And so I found it at a $2 DVD at a Walgreens, and I was just like, all right, I'll try this out. And it looked like shit, but I loved it, and I had never seen a movie with.
What do you mean it looked like shit?
I mean, the quality of the film, of the transfer, was terrible.
Oh, okay, but you wouldn't even know when a Blu-ray was yet. So how can you be a snob about fucking DVDs?
Because you can tell when something, even if you're watching it on VHS, there's a terrible transfer and there's a good transfer.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The snobbery.
Yeah, the snobbery of saying that the quality of the actual video is bad. That's
yes. You are a audio video. You're
I am not snob. At all. I am not at all.
Oh my God.
I know it's annoying when you're like, oh, you should hear about the people out there who are snobs about this. Yep. But that's the truth. I don't know shit about video or audio.
The fact that you're the only one that I've ever heard of in my entire life who brings up these kinds of things makes me think
you don't know snob. Many people. You don't know a great many people.
That's true. Because they talk about bullshit like this. I love this about you. Continue.
Well, I don't. It bothers me that like if the audio, if the volume in a movie theater is low, that nobody else is bothered by that. And I have to go talk to somebody. It bothers me
that you're bothered by it, and then you got to bring it to my attention, and then I got to ruin my fucking $14.99.
And then every house I go to, I have to fix the motion smoothing on their TV. Yes, so
you would agree. You are hypersensitive to these things. A snob, elitist snobbery.
Okay, but of snobs, I'm like a level 1.
Fine, you're level 1
I haven't even heard about Lord Xenu yet.
I don't even know what that means.
Do you want to know?
I
can tell you.
Like Scientology?
Yeah, you know how they don't tell you about that until you've already spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Just making sure I get your reference, love.
Well, I watched a shitty quality movie, and how dare I talk about that? But I really loved it, and I didn't know any of these actors or really much about screwball comedy, and this movie wasn't on the American Film Institute's 100 Greatest Movies, so I was like, well, how good can it be? But kind of blown away by how sort of contemporary it seemed, how funny it was, how much I laughed.
Yeah.
I think that, stuff from the past can be hilarious. However, you know, when somebody says Some Like It Hot is the funniest movie ever made, like it's a great movie and it's very funny, but like, I don't know, Borat's probably funnier. I don't know. Just to name like something. I don't know. Step Brothers is probably funnier.
Got you. Thank you.
Like because laughter is not something. Humor is something that really is context specific and can really really age poorly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just that whatever thing they're doing is so classic. It's so innately funny that it withstands the test of time without, I mean, there's no explanation needed. There's nothing that goes over my head.
Because it's so character based and class based.
Right.
And like those things will always be around.
Absolutely. And even if they use terms that aren't current, none of it is the dialogue. There's so much of it that it seems kind of beside the point. Like, I mean, it is the point, but if you get hung up on one word, don't worry. There's 18 more coming out of her mouth at the exact same fucking time.
It's like when you're watching like a really complex spy movie and you're like, I can't fucking follow this, but you also know you don't really need to.
Just let it go.
It's just about how you feel while you're watching it. All right, so this movie was directed by Gregory LaCava. This was 1936. The star is William Powell, who is a very big movie star, started in silent films, made successful transition to sound because he has an amazing voice. He had starred 2 years earlier in... Do
the majority of silent movie actors sound like this?
Yeah, basically. Okay. Or just they just sound stupid. Buster Keaton's voice is really... it doesn't sound stupid, it's just unpleasant. You're like, oh, no.
Wait, do an impression.
I can't even just...
Is it nasal?
This is what else wrong.
Oh, it's a garble. This is why I don't talk normally.
I just want to be on my train.
Okay.
Here comes Steamboat Bill. What
Who the fuck? Sorry, we just got a ding.
What was that?
Butler. It must be a package.
It was a package.
It's a package. Why do they knock and ring the doorbell? We should put a little piece of tape on the doorbell and be like, don't.
Shut up.
Just don't. Where do you get off?
Well, God,
I'm essential worker, though. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry.
God bless.
No, we should leave them water or something outside.
Water?
You know, like thanks, water. Thank you, waters. Water.
I would think there's COVID-19 in that water, probably.
I wouldn't put that in there. It would be sealed. It wouldn't be like a cup of water from our fucking...
Oh, okay. Oh, like a bottle of... I got you.
No, like I'd put a cup from our kitchen, but I'd seal it with some cellophane.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I'd be like, no COVID. I'd write that on the outside of it.
Does writing no COVID make you think even more that there's no COVID?
Yes, that's why it's hilarious what I'm saying. God damn it.
Yeah, but I'm taking your proposal seriously. But we'll get back to this.
Please.
William Powell plays Godfrey. He is a forgotten man. And
who's he to play God? I'm sorry.
That means that he is
a forgotten man.
That means he's a hobo, basically, in the classical sense of the word. Well, maybe not, because a hobo, I think, technically drifts.
Hobos, they drift, yeah.
But Godfrey lives in the ash heap, in a garbage dump.
No, he lived, in a literal... This is a very literal movie.
This is a shantytown, a Hooverville. It's the Great Depression.
Okay, but
crucially... and this really, really struck me. This is, let's say it was written and filmed in 1935. Great Depression starts in 29. This is 6 years into the Great Depression.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about now. Coronavirus pandemic starts in March in the United States. I mean, it starts earlier, but it really starts in earnest in March.
6 months ago.
And it's now 4 months later.
6 months later.
No. It's July. July's the 7th month. March is the third month. 7 minus 3 is 4.
So
and like, I remember like 2 months ago in the news, people were like, coronavirus. Remember that? Because everything just moves so fast.
Right.
So when we look back at the Great Depression, we think of it as one thing, but it was a long period of time, had a lot of different phases, yes. And there's so Forgotten Man, they're using it to say like, oh, society has forgotten you.
Right, you were a person claimed by this crash.
And this movie is about rich people being forced to confront a poor person and him sort of penetrating their world and their bubble. But it did sort of have this extra resonance of just like, by 1935 or 36, you're just like, God, this is such a part of life now. All those people who used to have jobs who now are homeless. Yeah. That we're sort of, it's not even interesting to think about it anymore. We've forgotten it. We've forgotten them. The Great Depression isn't new. It's not novel. The people who are homeless now. Right.
It's like if Katrina had, when you live here, you do at some point just get like, and we're still talking about
Katrina
that.
Fatigue.
Yeah.
Because everybody that you would talk to
would have to tell you their
South Louisiana
fucking story
for years afterwards. How'd you make it out during the storm?
And then it made me tell my story, and I'm like, I'm so bored of my story.
I know, and then we would complain about it. And then because my story, I had to go.
Oh, that's interesting that happened to you because I don't want to say that. Right.
It's like child.
And our stories are like so not that bad when you compare it to the dead people.
No, but they seem so interesting. It's like we didn't know it was going to happen. I was like driving in a pickup truck by myself. I was ready to do that. Here I am saying it, but it's like childbirth. You talk to another people who have a baby, and you're like, oh, okay. So because when I had a baby, my baby came out 7 pounds 4 ounces.
It's the birthday conversation brought to adulthood. Oh, you have a birthday and it's on that day? Because mine is on a different day and it's on a whole other sign of the
you said
stars.
Your thing. Now it's my turn to say my thing.
Right.
So that's the Great Depression.
Isn't it grand?
So Godfrey, played by William Powell, he has set up sort of a he has ingratiated himself with this community in the shanty town. The implication is that these are all people. I mean, okay, so homelessness, very tragic and unpleasant thing to talk about. You recently said to Macy, you were just talking about a homeless person and you said that person is suffering from homelessness. Mm-hmm. And then you explained to me that you had heard that that's a more humane way to characterize it.
Right. Just like some people in the autism community do not want to be referred to as autistic because that then makes it seem like they're not human. They are the thing that they are experiencing.
Although just on that front, though, there's just as big of
yes.
argument on the other side of people who say, but autism is my identity. Right. I'm an autistic person. And when you say I'm a person with autism, that makes it sound like something I'm suffering from. I'm not suffering from this. This is who I am.
I guess my point
Whereas
is...
like a person with cancer, a patient who has cancer...
is not a cancer person.
Has something afflicting them, whereas somebody who has autism is not afflicted with something.
Okay, but it's up to the person with autism to make that distinction. You err on the side of caution and you don't just go, hey, autistic person. It's just like Ms. versus Mrs. Until you tell me you're married, I'm not going to give you the MRS. Right? Because it's polite to call you Ms. until I know for sure. Okay. Anyway. Yes. So to not call, I grew up my entire life and until very recently just call the person a homeless person as if that is just the way they were born. But homelessness is such a complicated road that leads a person there that's just better and humanizes them to say that they are a person.
And it's especially bad.
Afflicted, that are suffering from
especially bad when you use it as a noun. You're a homeless, the homeless.
Right, or a hobo. I mean, I dressed on more than 2 Halloweens as a hobo, as though it was like a delightful thing to pretend to be. And I remember growing up, me and my cousins would play the homeless game all the time. We just like cut up some clothes and we just like have a can and we'd do like a fake beard. It's like, I don't know, lovable hobo thing was a...
Well, there's a lot of nostalgia for 1930s hobos. There really is in pop culture. I mean, there's so many Simpsons jokes about a man with a bindle.
Right. Right. Just the idea of a bindle. And then I love the movie Dennis the Menace, which, write that down. That's one of my Lutheran babes.
Dennis the Menace. Okay.
With the, what's his nose? Lloyd?
Walter Matthau?
No, well, yeah, but Christopher Lloyd, is that the homeless person?
Haven't seen it since.
He has a bindle.
I saw it in theaters, haven't seen it since then, but I think
oh my God, let's do it.
Okay, yeah, because I bought a DVD that has that and also...
Prom Child or something?
No, because I was making a video.
Little Rascals.
That was one for me.
Oh, okay. Wanted to guess what you would combine.
No, at Walmart they have just Walmart.
I know, but movie, I love
Walmart's movie section is just a catastrophe now because nobody buys movies anymore.
So they're just like bundling 8 together.
Yeah, and when I see
Pearl Mama from the Train plus Medea's reunion. Right. These have mothers.
No, but we're making these videos now, and I want to go back to our old episodes and make videos out of them just by putting the audio over something. And so I want footage from the movies.
Oh,
to get that. I need the DVD to rip it, and I think it was bundled with Goonies.
Legal activity.
This is not illegal. I'm doing this to have a digital copy for myself, and then also to disseminate on YouTube.
Ripping sounds. Oh, that's a classic beer burp that we used to experience a lot in our early podcasting days. You're welcome.
Oh, nostalgia. The great homelessness.
The great homelessness. How homeless was
this movie is a very good movie about homelessness, but the specific kind of like Great Depression homelessness in which people literally lost their livelihoods, including like rich people, and literally had to live in shantytowns.
No. Okay, but that's not what you're saying happened to this. I do think it's a little objectionable what his backstory actually is.
Okay, we can get to that. We can get to that. I mean, it's
not because he lost everything to the Great Depression. His entire family is still rich, and he could be too. He decided to be homeless because he had a bad breakup.
We'll get to that. Not just that he had a bad breakup.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he had a bad breakup.
And that's what happened.
So yes, this guy is mascurading as a homeless person. Well, he's not even masquerading.
No, he comes
from a very old money family, and he says, my family is they're just controlled. They're puppets. They're just controlled by whatever machinations of old money wealth, and they're impotent and limp. And he was tired of that, and he wanted to have some actual empathy for people suffering in the world. And so he went to try to understand. Yes, Laci.
You taught me something interesting today. I mean, you taught me something interesting this week, and I knew there was another parallel between this and Pride and Prejudice because for the first time I watched Pride and Prejudice with my best friend Bernie. What up, Bernie?
The 2005 Joe Wright movie starring Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Bennet.
Indeed.
Because there's been a ton of Pride and Prejudices.
Okay. Well,
I'm sorry, I'm such a snob.
Anyway, get your pride out of this.
Would a prideful snob have spaghetti sauce on his shirt?
No. Okay, now I see it. Anyway, you taught me something very interesting. I've been because I watched both of these movies back to back ish in two different days. I was like, there's a lot of parallels in these movies, but maybe not. But you taught me something interesting is that if you were in the upper class during that time, what century or decade would that?
Pride and Prejudice is early 1800s.
Okay. That literally the only acceptable job in high society was to not have one. Like your job was just to inherit wealth. That is amazing. I don't know. I never caught that, but yeah, there's not any like princes coming in and be like, "Whoa, well, that doctoring I did today was." Whoa.
Yeah, it's and that's the word holdings. I have my holdings. I just hold them. I hold on to them.
No wonder they're so bored all the time, and
And so Godfrey's family is like this aristocratic old family that can't do anything for itself and
right.
Barely even human.
You look. What is the last name of this family? The family he goes and buttles for?
Bullock.
Mr.
Bullock.
Oh, that's why I like it. But then you look at it, and you're like, yeah, what does this family do? I can't tell what the dad does at all either, except for he looks at his stocks and watches them rise and fall. But that doesn't suggest that he works.
I think it's supposed to. I think he at least
he
runs
wears a
company.
suit.
he runs a company, and I think it's supposed to contrast him with Godfrey's family, who are just their job is just to be this family, this wealthy family.
Yeah, he does seem a little bit more distressed than your average heiress.
And he's the kind of rich person who could lose it all, who actually could lose it all, with bad investments and mismanagement.
Because he has so much
an
in
old
the
money
stock
family that where nothing could actually happen to them. All right, so Godfrey is a rich man posing as a poor man.
But
and
he does live he's not faking it. He doesn't have to be poor, but he is. But by the time the love interest, what is her name?
Irene.
By the time she finds him, he's been there for quite some time, right?
This isn't Pulp's common people. He's not, being a tourist, a disaster tourist, trying to look at these people and their
he really is living in a
words.
box.
He's trying to build some empathy, and trying to not be his family. Mm-hmm. All right, so onto this scene stumbles the Bullock sisters, Irene and Cornelia. Irene, played by Carole Lombard. And they are on a scavenger hunt and
a most pointless event. It really helps show the excess.
They start talking to Godfrey, and he's like, "What is a scavenger hunt?" And Irene says,
"Start talking to him." They shuffle down a garbage heap, so excited to have found a forgotten man.
I mean, I can't say every detail.
They impose upon him. They're like, "Oh, we found one of you kinds of people. Can I collect you and give you $5 so I can show you off to all my rich friends?"
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked up.
I love the line. Godfrey asks what a scavenger hunt is. Carole Lombard says, "Well, it's like a treasure hunt, but in a treasure hunt, you're looking for things that people want, and in a scavenger hunt, you're looking for things that people don't want." And then he gets in a disagreement with the sister Cornelia, who's the villain of the movie, and he just has harsh words for her, and then she backs up and then slips onto a pile of ashes. And then her boyfriend says, "You in the business of pushing ladies around?" And, he doesn't push her at all, but for the rest of the movie, they say he pushed her,
and he even says it.
He doesn't deny it. Yeah.
He even says it. It's like, "Yeah, fuck, I guess I pushed."
But this is rich people totally not being used to anyone, not just sort of clearing the way for them.
Right.
But he likes Irene. There's something about Irene. And why wouldn't she? She's the most charming, effervescent, sexiest person other than Lacey Roth that I've ever seen. And so
I'm so pissed at you, right?
Really? Why?
She's sexy?
You don't think she's sexy?
No.
I don't often say this.
I think she's cerebral. I think you like that she's smart.
No. Well, yes. But there's something very sexy about her, just knowing what she wants. So, she knows so clearly what she wants, and she's just going to get it and has no reservations about that. Kind of like you.
This is how you think I picked you up, though. I just decided.
Well, you did.
Well, yeah.
When we were before we started dating, the beginning of that, you made a confession to me. You're like, "I like you," and I was like, "I like you too." And your response to that was, "Yeah, I know." And I was like, "Well, huh?"
Well, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't know.
Yes, you're saying that right now. That's the most arrogant thing anyone could say.
I knew you weren't keeping it you just had all the tells of someone who was gonna like me.
All right, but that's the thing. I mean, I don't know. Well, she's a beautiful woman. She's funny. She's smart. And
Carole Lombard?
Yeah, I do not agree with all these things.
I agree with all those things. Yeah, I just didn't realize. I mean, you always told me that if there was an older actress that would play me, it'd be her. And so I take all compliments to this. That's fine.
You're welcome. All right. Well, she takes him to the hotel where they're having the rich person party. And I wrote down in my notes.
In the lobby. It's not a sex party.
Yeah. Hunger Games capital.
Oh, yeah.
Very much where, rich people are bringing goats around. Or, look, I found a goat and a baby goat.
Right. Separating the mom goat from the baby goat, which disturbs me right away with no kind of give a shit about what's actually going to go happen to that goat and baby goat that they brought sheerly for the purposes of completing a scavenger hunt. Mm-hmm. And now a goat's just in the hotel and a baby.
And again, you have to. This is 1936. Most people in the world are suffering because of the absence of goats, and additionally, the absence of money and jobs and stability.
I was just saying they didn't have any goat rooms at that hotel because of the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, so this was a huge hit, and it was sort of, I mean, it's giving audiences exactly what they want, which is to gawk at how stupid and venal the rich are, the excesses, the lives they're living as, you know, their brothers and sisters are living in squalor.
Right.
Very, very poignant. I mean, like, this is all very heavy-handed, but like,
it is.
But
they make and they make a great show of how with just a little bit of effort you can help all of these men get out of this one particular spot, and that's the end of the movie. That's
what Godfrey does.
His name is Godfrey. He's a god of those men, and he freed them from their whatever.
I mean, I think they're trying to. I don't know. It's like the most just stuffy.
It's the most butlery name ever. Yeah.
But it could be either. It could be a butler's name or
Reginald Butler or who calls the butler?
Godfrey helps Irene win the scavenger hunt, and then he tells all the rich people off, and then Irene's like, "Ooh, I'm even more horny for you now. Will you come buttle for us?"
Yes.
And he decides
what higher honor?
Because Irene really wants to fuck him. This is also 2 years after the Hays Code, which outlawed even sexual innuendo in movies. So you can't even hint that like she wants to fuck him. You can't even hint that Carlo, the protege of the mother, Mrs. Bullock, that they're effing.
What? I didn't catch that.
They're totally because the husband is like, I'm a forgotten man. He has to support this young man who's just around to please his wife.
Oh, I didn't.
But people at the time were hip to it, you know?
All right, hip to the job. I was not. I just thought he was like that. She was terribly bored, and that's his
That's certainly part of it too. Yeah. But they're definitely fucking.
Well, that makes it a little more interesting.
It sure does.
It's already interesting.
And then, you know, Godfrey goes to the Bullock house. There are a bunch of rich people, and he sort of like Paddington the Bear makes everyone sort of grow and change a little bit through his goodness.
Through his indifference too.
No,
he drives all the women wild. I mean, that is interesting in this movie that 3 women fall in love with him and he's completely indifferent.
Wouldn't you? I would. He's not indifferent. He's cool.
Well, it's too cool. Makes me hot.
I will say, William Powell is also one of my favorite classic Hollywood actors. I think he's very overshadowed by
Lombard. I never heard of him.
In this movie, I watched The Thin Man the other day again, and he's fantastic in that. He's a great actor. I think this is one of the. Carole Lombard is like giving one of the all-time great film performances. So anyone,
I can hear your boner from here. Oh,
how mature! Can't compliment a movie star.
What kind of?
You know how I'm always trying to compliment movie stars?
Well, that's the thing. You never do. So, you know, I'm taken aback.
Well, I mean, what?
Just continue.
All right. Well, hijinks ensue. Identities. Battle of the sexes. The dad is flustered. The mom has this protege, Carlo. He is there as a sort of hanger-on. He wants to read poetry and live off of their wealth.
But he's also her literal lapdog in that she says, act like an ape, and then he does.
Yeah, he does a gorilla impersonation.
Really hardcore.
Cheer Irene up. Irene is upset because Godfrey is not giving into her, is not acquiescing to her sexual advances.
That's not true. She was upset because her dad wouldn't let him buttle.
I get it. All of the wires crossed. She gets upset so many times, and then most of the time she's faking, but she's a very good manipulator. And now, what's the difference between her and her sister? Because they both are, you know.
Well, one's the older one who is a snob who always gets her way, but it always seems to be right. The other one has figured out how to get her way in a completely different manipulative way by being super innocent and
bubbly and charming and nice.
Yeah, we get it. Your boner for Carole. Right. So that, you know, just like what siblings typically do, they find a lane and they stay in their own. You know, and most siblings have something distinctly different from the other one. So they're both controlling and manipulative, but one of them is not so wrapped in. She doesn't get the benefits that her sister gets from their class. So I think she's okay with saying fuck it to class if I get the man I actually want. Where the sister cares much more about...
Sorry, which sister are you talking about?
Well, Carole Lombard. Because she's the younger one. Has less power. And that's probably just because their personalities are so different between her and her sister. But her sister gets what she wants and uses her class to do it. And that just, you can't have two people like that in the room. So she's not equally getting anything that, what is her name? Cornelia is getting. Mm-hmm. So she goes, well, I will make it. Don't do that. Okay. What are you doing? I like to watch the iPad. I'm
setting up the clip for us to watch.
Oh. Anyway, I will make opportunity for myself by taking someone from the lower class and because if he were in our class, Cornelia would just get him. She gets everything. Mm-hmm. So the difference is one gets everything. The other one has to be more creative and flexible to get other things. And she's more appreciative of things she gets.
When she ultimately triumphs by getting Godfrey to marry her, by basically just being like, all right, well, we're going to be getting married now. And he's just like, huh, okay. And then it just happens. Do you think that when that it's I mean, just the greatest.
It completely took me by surprise.
Really?
I didn't think she was going to get him.
It's kind of like the only way it can end. Like,
but I didn't know what screwball comedy was. So,
but is that supposed to be? She's been engaged many times before. She sort of has these flights of fancy. She loved her old Pomeranian.
I will admit that I did think this was like going to be something she lost interest in. I didn't see this being something she didn't see her staying lovesick and interested in him the whole time.
I don't think so. I was going to say, I don't think that the ending suggests that that's not going to happen.
That's true. She
is going to lose interest in him pretty soon, but they're going to get married first.
Right.
I think this has a bunch of very insightful things to say about wealth inequality, but also about the ways that we just throw money at emotional problems to make them go away. The mom can't stand for her daughters not to be sad, but to show sadness.
Right, to stress her out.
If they're distressed at all, she's like, oh, Carlo, act like a gorilla and cheer her up. And expects that to solve it.
Because she's got no actual parenting skills of her own. She just calls for someone.
And then Carlo can't stand for them to talk about money.
Right.
I'll play a clip of him reacting to the sound of money being discussed. But it was like what you said about Richie Rich's parents, about how their vault, it's the most treasured possessions they have, but it's all just trinkets and junk from their lives. And you're like, yeah, that's because they're wealthy enough to not have to care about.
Wait. That's how you take this scene? I'll tell you how I take it after you do this.
Carlo gets upset at the mention of money because he's so much like just doesn't want to talk about it, being scared about being kicked out of the house.
Okay, yeah.
But that is you can always say that from a position of privilege. Like, ooh, let's not talk about money. It's so upsetting to talk about money.
I don't agree. Go.
I mean, I'm looking for the right moment.
Money. The Frankenstein monster that destroys souls.
Please don't say anything more about it. You're upsetting Carlo.
We've got to come to an understanding right now. Either Carlo is or I am.
Am what?
Well, one of us has got to, and that's all there is to it.
Alexander, you're inebriated. You don't know what you're talking about.
Well, who would know what they're talking about living with a bunch like this? There's one thing I do know. What this family needs is discipline. I've been a pretty patient man, but when people start riding horses up their front steps and parking them in the library, that's going a little bit too far.
Horses? Are you insinuating that I rode a horse up the front steps last night?
Maybe that wasn't a horse I saw in the library this morning.
Well, I'm positive I didn't ride a horse into the library because I didn't have my riding costume on.
It was Irene who rode the horse up the front steps.
What horse?
Don't play innocent. I begged you not to do it.
I didn't ride a horse, but if I did ride a horse, who broke those windows on Fifth Avenue?
This is all they do all day, every day.
Right. They just go back and forth.
They wake up, they get drunk, and they argue about who did what. And they can make any problems go away. When the older daughter files a false police report, the dad pays the cops off, and they leave. I think that's a pretty good illustration. Even today, cops are around to protect the interests of wealthy people, to investigate, the lower class people who live with them in case they steal. But if it then turns out they've been called on false pretenses, they're just going to look the other way and quietly slink away. But what were you saying about how you read the scene?
I get what you're saying. Like, he gets the privilege of saying, "Oh, let's not talk about money," but it's not the same thing as when a person who is trying to be humble because they are rich is trying to say, "Oh, no, let's not discuss that," because it's uncomfortable if the people in the room with you are not as wealthy. That's where that comes from for rich people. He is a person who is living on the dime of this woman who stays interested in him.
You're right. It is different.
Okay, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
And he knows that he can trigger her guilt for still having so much money where other people don't, that the impropriety of discussing money, her whole thing of like, "Oh, don't talk about that, that's tacky," or whatever. So he can trigger that in her.
So it's very calculated.
By saying money. And then she shuts down the whole thing. So before the husband can even get started about where all the excess money's going and why they're getting broke and Carlo's eating them out of house and home, Carlo shuts it down by getting the wife all riled up. And it's completely put on. It's an act. It has nothing to do with him feeling at all guilty or embarrassed.
I got you. These people are all manipulating each other the whole time.
Yes.
Even the happy ending with Irene getting Godfrey to fall in love with and marry her is manipulation.
Yeah.
But of the best kind.
Is there a best kind?
It is the best kind.
You
won't find a better kind than this, people. I love this movie. I was right about it. It's great. It's one of the great comedies ever made. What'd you think?
Well, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to go as far as saying greatest comedy, one of the greats. I'd have to no, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's good. Very good.
Anyone could watch. Do you think anyone could watch this and would appreciate it?
Yes, it transcends. It transcends. You don't even think about it being black and white, which was always a hurdle for me because I'm stupid.
Yeah, I've been watching some I Love Lucy lately, and
which is awesome.
Yeah, and what I
also transcends.
What I think and what I say about it afterward is like, that joke could have been on TV today. It's a stupid thing to say, but there's just some universal things, especially when it's observational about human nature. Very good.
We just harmonized. Very good for me, bitch.
Very good for you.
Good on us. Way to keep up with me, Laci.
I suck.
Walmart version of Carole Lombard. I like Walmart. I'm just kidding.
Lucille Ball was very always mentioned how big of an influence Carole Lombard was on her sort of comedic stylings. But yeah, it is very, very contemporary. You're not gonna. This movie's on Amazon Prime. My Man Godfrey. You can watch it. If you don't like black and white movies, I think you'll like this one. The comedy holds up. The drama holds up. It has some interesting things to say about wealth and the Great Depression. And now let's talk about The Simpsons.
Okay, but I also am hungry.
Okay. Well,
I've really been hanging on.
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you. And I did say beforehand that you should eat before we record.
Yes, but then I wouldn't enjoy my fucking meal. And so I had a cheese stick and I had 2 beers. And now I'm at my end of my
rope.
No, I don't want another fucking cheese stick. I want what I want. And I want to watch TV while I'm eating it.
All right, well,
and I'm not hangry. You're hangry.
We'll be done soon.
Excellent.
But our episodes about movies that people don't see don't get as many listens as the ones that are about movies that people do see. Like a lot of people had thoughts on our Terminator 2 episode.
Oh God, did they?
They
were hostile.
You said.
They were.
You said apparently people like Terminator 2. I didn't know.
I had no idea.
All right, so I have been watching a lot more of The Simpsons lately. Simpsons,
which I didn't think would be possible for you to watch more. But it is.
Simpsons is my favorite thing, of all fictional. I like it more than I like my favorite band. I like it more than I like my favorite movie.
I didn't know that.
But for the past few years, I've been, passive about it. It's not like we'll watch it at a hotel.
Really haven't been pursuing it.
But you watch Bob's Burgers on headphones while you fall asleep, and I read.
Because it's fantastic.
It's not like we just sit down to watch The Simpsons. But I've been doing it lately. I think it started with Macy sort of getting into it, but in the weirdest way. She's 9 years old, and she will watch YouTube clips that are condensed Simpsons episodes
that only show you the climactic points. They only show you
the story points.
Still, you know that what happened. You just watch it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, now I don't have to watch that episode." It's like, but the point is not the stories.
And that's not the weirdest way she consumes The Simpsons. The weirdest way, and is in a way I don't even know what the term is. It's where they take 1 2 to 3 second clip of one of the characters exclaiming and making a big noise and a big motion, and then making the result of that big noise or reaction or motion into something you don't expect, like Peppa Pig shooting out of an ass, or I don't even know how to explain. It was the first time I'd watched TV with her, and I finally was like, okay, YouTube's done it. It's passed me up. I don't understand what this is, or it's just like, I can't even explain.
No, I know. It's like trying to explain to somebody who hasn't seen like Daddy Finger what Daddy Finger is.
Okay, we need to stop.
It's just so. You're right. It's when you know you're an adult or you're old.
You know what it is?
Like,
it's what is it called? SRM? What is it called?
ASMR.
Exactly, SRM. It's trying to explain that. It's so that's even much easier to explain, but like. I'd have to show you, and even if I were showing it to you, you'd be like, when are they going to show the part where people watch this?
You can explain it, and the person can understand, but they'll still be like, but
why is it good? Why? I mean, if she just is laughing the whole time and like telling me to wait for the, because it's not just it's happening one time. The whole point is it's a compilation. So it's 10 minutes of 3 seconds of content over and over and over again, but with different outcomes. Very short, very random, super strange, and she's just laughing her ass off. Anyway,
we'll link to some of these videos, but she also watches full episodes or will watch clips on YouTube, and I just noticed there's because The Simpsons has been on for so long, it's still on. It just finished its 31st season. That there are now like twice as many episodes I haven't seen than as I have.
All right.
And she'll watch any of it. It's all the same to her. But that sort of got me to rekindle my love. And now I've, watched 1 or 2 episodes a day as I'm working out or whatever.
As I'm working out or whatever.
Wait, what's wrong with that?
Just, as I'm working out for 2 Simpsons long, 1 hour workout or whatever.
No, that's 42 minutes.
Ooh. All right, go ahead, go.
But workout, I mean run in place.
Anyway, you work out for 2 hours. I get it. Go.
Fuck off. My friend asked me.
Oh, now you're friends. Is this the bragging episode? All right, continue.
My idiot friend who I hate texted me and said, "Who are your 10 favorite characters on The Simpsons?" All right, pretty basic question. But usually when you think about these things, it's like, who are your favorite like supporting characters on The Simpsons? But this was a broad question. And so I had to think about it.
You had to ask abroad. And
I thought, well, are The Simpsons themselves going to occupy all the top slots on the list?
Wait, how many did you get to pick?
10 favorites.
Oh, that's plenty.
And so it was like, okay, yeah. I'm going to put The Simpsons as the best. And, Homer number 1. You can, I think Marge, Bart, and Lisa all make a case to be 2, 3, or 4. They're all great. And then I thought, what about Maggie? Mm-hmm. Would I put Maggie Simpson as the 5th best character on The Simpsons? Is Maggie Simpson even a character? And that's what I wanted to talk about with you.
Okay.
Is Maggie Simpson a character? But what's your history with The Simpsons?
Well, I was always aware of it, but it wasn't something that I was, not that I wasn't allowed to watch it, but it wasn't totally welcome. And I wouldn't have caught it on prime time. It wasn't in syndication yet. Or so it to me, I jumped in adult animation. I jumped into it when Family Guy started to exist. Oh, I guess I dabbled in South Park too, but I lost interest after the 3rd season. So for me, The Simpsons always seemed like this thing that already had passed me, and I lost, that ship sailed. And then when we started watching it together, I mean, it was an immediate fit. I fucking love it. Definitely on my top 5 things to watch. Do you want to know my opinion of Maggie now, or?
Is Maggie a character?
When you posed this question to me, I immediately said yes. And because to me, all of her, now, is she a top 5? That's a different question. I don't think she is actually, but is she a character? And yes, she's not I mean, what would the other options be? She's not just something in the background.
Is she like the dog? Or
right.
yes.
Okay. Yes. So no, she's way more than that. And anytime they do go to Maggie, it's always to underscore a point or to elevate the situation, to highlight some sort of neglect or some sort of ridiculousness that would have been less obvious if you hadn't heard or whatever the noise she makes with her pacifier. And I feel like she's very animated. I feel like everyone else is a talking star, so it's a little bit hard to have a silent movie actress in the mix, but she does a lot with a little.
And having Sully, having a nonverbal child, did make me suddenly re-examine this, because we have a child who doesn't talk yet, but it doesn't make him any less like talking actually isn't. Did you know that talking is only 70% of our that you can be every bit as alive and participating even if you don't talk. He's
like the biggest presence in the room most of the time.
Yeah.
And there's no talking happening.
And it doesn't, people.
But I know when
he's interacting with us, people are interacting with him.
Right. I feel
he has
all
thoughts,
the emotions.
He has opinions.
Right. All of that's there without the words.
And thinking about that, I started paying attention to Maggie and started noticing that she too seems aware of what's going on.
100%.
Has thoughts and feelings. And I start to see okay, she does have a distinct personality.
Well, yeah.
It's like she's smart like Lisa. She seems a little more, maybe a little bit more of a troublemaker than Lisa. So, kind of a combination of Lisa and Bart. She's definitely really smart.
Yes.
She just seems to enjoy maybe mischief and chaos.
But it's our only option. It's like Sully. Like if he wants us to know he'd like more milk, he slams the fuck out of the cup on the floor, which might seem like chaos, but for a person who can't verbalize what he wants, it's pretty fucking effective.
I'm saying if she sees chaos, she enjoys watching it. She doesn't like causing it, but enjoys watching it.
All right.
But the problem with this argument or with this discussion is there just aren't a great many episodes that focus on her or where she has.
And I don't. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Or where she has anywhere to go or grow. There are a handful, and they usually involve her relationship with Homer.
Yeah.
And but their bond always grows stronger, and it usually seems to be because of active choices that she makes and not that Homer makes. There's an episode where she saves Homer from drowning because she gets super strength, the opposite way that a parent can get super strength to save their child. A baby suddenly gets super strength to save her.
Because she has such an enabled father who's still lovable, who's still worth saving.
But there are these two theatrically released short films starring Maggie Simpson. Playdate with Destiny was the one that came out this year, and then the daycare, I can't remember what it's called, but they're both fucking amazing. They're both
good, but the most recent, I mean, you can tell they're doing so much more with developing what they can do without any speaking at all. And I don't know, I feel like the most recent one is twice as good as the other one.
I would agree. They're trying to call back to classic animation because the short starts with Maggie's giant face in the middle of the screen, and it's Maggie Simpson in.
You're so right. I never even thought about it. But Tom and Jerry and Roadrunner, and there was no words.
Yeah. It's a grand tradition of silent cartoons. And they're beautiful and they're hilarious and they're heartfelt. And I want to see way more of them. This is the perfect venue for Maggie. This is a way for the Simpsons to grow, is to really dive into who she is. Watch them on Disney Plus. I don't know. Good discussion about The Simpsons. We're going to talk about The Simpsons more in the future, probably by talking about the Simpsons movie, but it's something I really want to get into. This is just a tease.
This is a little taste.
A little taste for you. But people, thanks for listening and watching. Please subscribe on iTunes or Apple or YouTube.
All of those.
Go to loadbearingbeams.com/movies. You can look for a movie that we've talked about and then listen to that episode.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
That's usually what people do.
Do a little searchy poo.
They don't listen to the new episode. They go find a movie they've seen and listen to that. Makes sense.
You see My Man Godfrey and you go,
no,
what now?
You.
Come again? Who's man and what is a Godfrey?
Yeah, I should have said this episode was about Titanic.
The Ship of Dreams.
Now that you've clicked here. But we love you. Bye.
Okay. Love you. Bye.
3, 4. Everybody, love me.